Let's talk about arguably the best quarterback performance of the weekend, and that is a guy that you know very well in Justin Herbert.
Jeez.
Some of the numbers from that game were staggering when I went back and looked at them. So he was blitzed on about 82% of his dropbacks, which was the most in a game since 2016. Two of them, the two heaviest blitz games in the next gen stats era, happened last week. One to Brock Purdy, one to Justin Herbert.
That's wild.
He was in the shotgun in this game 92% of the time, which is the highest rate he's ever had in a single game in his career. Yeah. And they ran the ball 15 times, which is the third lowest total in a Chargers game since he became the quarterback. It is difficult, and I said this earlier today, to more decidedly put the game in your quarterback's hands with a game plan and a method of offense than what the Chargers did with Justin Herbert on Sunday. And he was very game.
Oh my God. We still text back and forth. Like, he's my boy. And I told him, I sent him, I'll read you the text I sent him this is on Tuesday. Okay. I said, I just watched the Philly game versus Minnesota because I know he was watching it that day because that's the day they watch. If you guys block their 0, you're going to have a career day. It's only bringing 5 and 6 guys. And he didn't respond because he was obviously like doing it, and he gets tons of texts. And I'm not going to say what he said back on Sunday after he responded, but I'll end with, he said, I've never seen so much 0 before. That's what he ended with. I'm not going to say the rest. And I was watching the game too, because I was like, the Minnesota Philly, I'm like, what is Minnesota doing? Like, it works, but Philly gashed them for 2 huge post routes to Devonta Smith. And when they got off the bus, and I'm like, I mean, that's literally that's where my head went. So you got to see the inner workings right there of a quarterback to quarterback. Like, bro, if they blitz, you guys are going to have it planned out. And their plan was simple yet effective. Their plan was, hey, Justin Herbert, you're winning us the game. We're not going to run the ball. We're going to put you in shotgun because all this under center stuff when they're in AA mugs and these linebacker mugs, it doesn't make sense. So I get why they did it. It's not going to be something they do all the time. They were 100% ready for it. And that's what makes it even more impressive, because you can practice these things, but he had like 5 or 6 different tools in this toolbox that Kellen Moore gave him versus 0. And that's why they said, hey, we're going to go out and throw it 47 times. You're going to complete 40 of them, by the way, which is 85, which is like, what? Like 40 completions in an NFL game. And we're going to lean on you. And there's been a few times where Staley has just came into the quarterback room, maybe on like a Thursday or maybe even like Friday while we're in there just getting our stuff together. And he's like, hey, bro, look, here's the deal. We're going to let you win the game for us. And you're going to throw it 50 times. And there's been times that that's happened. I guarantee you that's what he said to Kellen Moore, was like, bro, go win it. With, like, let Justin win it. Let our receivers win it. And they had such good answers. Like, it was so simple. He had effect, like just a bubble throw or just a little flat route or these motion bubble, like just stuff like that. And they just kept bringing it. And they finally hit him with a big play before the end of half, which was insane in cover 0. He just kept floating back, threw it down the left sideline to Josh Palmer. And just like, first of all, Josh Palmer, like, stay in bounds, bro. Like, stay in bounds. That was a dime. You're wasting his throws. But like that stuff, that's when you make them pay. And they just kept doing it. And sometimes you can get a little bit freaked out, or not scared. Scared's not the right word. Like, just overwhelmed with like, man, they're doing it again. Here you go. Like, what are we going to keep running these same plays? And are they going to? And they just kept doing it and kept gashing them.
Those bubbles that they were running with those motions, how many of those are RPOs where he's deciding to throw the ball? None of them?
I mean, I think that I saw 2 or 3 out of the 8 or 9 they threw, which were RPOs. And I guarantee they were just like, dude, just throw it out there, because they got loaded box and it just messes up the blocking scheme. But a lot of them were like, hey, here's our check for a 0. We see it. Let's go. And I just thought they operated, because games I've been around like that, coincidentally, Minnesota, when Mike Zimmer was the D coordinator, they were 8 up, AA mug, double edge press. It was just like, it was a bitch to go against. Like, it was like, man, like just so much mental stamina went into the week, and he's going to bring it 3 times. And the whole week you're thinking like how to do it. So I've seen teams like in quarterbacks and specifically quarterbacks get bogged down by all the zero that, man, they had a good plan and they played fast. And that's what was most impressive to me about this performance.
Is there any way to kind of discern what is different about the offense from a game like that? Or is the defensive game plan so hyper specific that this is not a good example for maybe how the offense has changed from last year?
I don't know if this is a great example, but I've watched all their games, and I think the offense, like I know what you're getting at, and I think the offense has changed. I feel like they've kept 40 to 50% of the route concepts, and they've added 40 to 50% new route concepts. So it's a really good, and everything I've heard within the building, they've simplified it to let them play fast. And boy, is it working. Because I think you put in these notes, I think they're third in like every major offensive efficiency metric category, which is absurd because they're just playing so fast. And it's not like it's like all this brand new offense and stuff. It's just the way it's being coached, if I'm being really honest, and the way that Justin is feeling about this offense and how confident, like I can tell, like you watched the film after the touchdown throw to Parham on 4th and 1. It was after they didn't score on the Josh Palmer. Like, first of all, like when every single day for 2 years, when we warm up, I'd be playing catch with Justin. And if we didn't have someone catching, I would be the one catching it. Okay. And this would be like 20 yards away. And for everyone out there, like, I know it's been said, but like he throws such a heavy ball. And what does a heavy ball mean? Like, it just is like, thunk. Like, it's like the ball just feels like it's coming in at such a different velocity. And we used to call it, like, no joke, like we used to call it the Herbert cross. So on the end, I talked about this before, on the end of an NFL ball, it looks like a cross. It's very small. And sometimes if you're catching it and you're not hand catching it, some of these receivers on the inside of would have a Herbert cross because they'd get to him and he'd throw such a tight spiral and it would just indent and leave. Like we used to joke around and call it Herbert cross. Like that's how, so that Parham one, like you saw after how, first of all, he threw it 1,000 miles an hour, but you saw how excited
he was.
Justin
pumped. He was so pumped.
He used to show emotion, but he used to not be like, the dude is he's changed to a way to where he's just like, and everything I've heard is just like such more like vocal leader, like not afraid what anyone thinks. I don't really care. I'm going to be myself. He's comfortable in his skin. He's comfortable how he leads. He's going to make a ton of money. And that's sort of what I've seen with him. It's been really impressive, honestly.
And this, again, from some of the outside looking in and just everything I'd heard about his personality is that he wants to do the right thing. He wanted to do the right thing in that previous offense. And a lot of the time that involves getting to a check down pretty quickly and making the right read. Him playing a little bit freer, a little bit looser. I was very excited about that. And you've already seen the benefits of it. So last year, they had 55 plays. You guys had 55 plays of 20 plus yards, which is middle of the road in the NFL.
Yeah.
This year, 55 completions of 20 plus yards was middle of the road in the NFL with this guy who's leaving dents in human beings with the way he throws the ball. This year already, they have 16 completions of 20 plus yards. They had 55 all of last season. That's the second highest total in the NFL. Yeah. And so that version of the offense, when it's not like they're going bombs away every single time they go out there, but taking the mindset to, I'm going to take these whenever they're possible, and I'm going to be looking for them at every opportunity. That version of this team is fun as hell to watch, and that's what we've gotten so far.
I mean, I had so much fun. Like I watch, and I've said this before, but when I'm watching NFL on Sundays, I have the NFL Sunday ticket, like I'm sure a lot of people do, and I have a TV with like the quad box and another TV like outside in the patio with a quad box. So I have 8 games out of the 9, usually early games going on. And because I've just know so much and know so many people and have such good relationships with people at the Chargers, that's the game that I'm normally watching. And the sound's always on, and just to see like how they've been playing and how well they're doing. Like you could just like, I just really hope that this defense doesn't screw it up for them, because this offense deserves like a really, really good defense. And I just don't know. I just don't know if that's the case. And the other thing that I was going to mention is like, so we're going to talk about Kirk Cousins next. Okay. I'm just going to spill the beans, but I watched it in order. So I watched Justin play. I'm like, man, like I was on the edge of my seat, even though I saw it with the sound and knew exactly what plays were going on. And I go and I watch Kirk. I'm like, oh yeah, he's good. And like, it's just not as exciting of an offense. Really, all like CJ or Brock Purdy. And I was just like, that to me tells me that he's having fun, Justin is, and that he's playing at a really, really high level right now.
The one last thing I want to ask you about him is that obviously the physical traits are undeniable. We know all about them. He's unbelievably gifted. But working with him every day, being in the quarterback room with him every day, what to you sticks out about the way he sees and processes the game when you're actually watching tape game planning with him?
He's extremely smart. Extremely smart. Like an introvert, everyone knows that. But when he's around guys that he trusts, like the quarterback room, like, you know, you'll hear a joke that may not be super funny, but you'll laugh because it's like, oh, you told a joke, man. You told a joke. And yeah, it's cool. Like we had such a good relationship. Like, and I've told this story before, but it's been a couple years. Like when I first signed, I think I was going into my 13th year, and he was going into his second, I think, or third, whatever. Yeah, no, he's going his second year when I signed. And so
year 2, yeah.
And he just won Offensive Rookie of the Year and played at such an insanely high level, like probably one of the best, if not the best rookie years we've ever seen in the history of the game, numbers wise. And the first thing he says is like, bro, like I'm a huge fan, like just of your game and how you've stuck around, and like what, like just wants to be coached. Like, what do you got? Like, let's do this together. Like, so that sort of gives you a dive into like, hey, this guy just won Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's coming to me, some career backup. Like, hey, like I just want to get better. Like, what are you seeing? Help me. Like, what are we doing? Like, so that just gives you a little bit of like an insight to like how he is in the meeting room, and just a good dude. Like I say this all the time, and he hates it, but I'm like, this is the dude you want like your daughter to bring home to, like if you were a dad, you know, like it's just is like, yeah, like true all-American dude, a little introverted, but like funny, but not really, but also like loyal and honest.
Justin Herbert's getting crushed right now for his lack of a sense of humor.
Yeah, but the thing is, like he is like it's all fun and games. I'm sure he'll see the episode and text me like, "You just crushing me, man. What are you doing?" But he's such a good dude. Like he's honestly like top 5 favorite teammates of all time for me.
The last thing I wanted to ask you, and we're spending a lot of time on this, but you have such a perspective on it. I think it's useful. I remember talking to you before that first season that you had with the Chargers and about the offense that they were putting in for Justin. You probably don't even remember this. We talked during camp, and you were talking about just the dynamics within that offense. And in New Orleans, they have this thing called the dot meeting where you go through all the options the night before the game, and the quarterback gets to really put his stamp on what the game plan is. He's like, I like this or I don't like this. Yeah. And the plays the quarterback likes typically are the ones the game plans are composed of. And you were talking about trying to get Justin to a place, or, you know, working on this element of him speaking up and making his preferences and opinions known within the room. Do you think he ever got to that place in the 2 years that you guys spent together?
Yeah, he did. He did toward the end of the middle of the second year. I just think that he's just so used to, I mean, he's had so many different coordinators. I think he was so used to just like, hey, coach, just call it. Like, and he still is that way. Like, bro, just call it. Like, I'll make it work. And that to me is really cool, because like you want someone to like, and there's certain plays that he'll start, be like, I really like this one. But he's never really ever said like, oh, I don't like this one. I don't want to run this one because I don't feel comfortable. Like he just comes from the tree of like, hey, just call it. Like, I'll let it rip. Like, no matter what it is, I don't really care what it is. And to me, that's like, oh, okay, cool. That like gives you confidence as an offensive coordinator.